Is Phoenix PD to blame when it comes to the torture and murder of 10-year-old Rebekah Baptiste? Now, we know authorities are saying that she was murdered by her father and his girlfriend.
They starved her. They burned her. They beat her.
And apparently did this over quite some period of time.
DCS blew it. 15 calls. They ignored almost every single one of them.
And we know that while the family was living in the valley, Phoenix Police was called to the house, and I've seen a dispute on the number, either 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
The last one being April of this year for a welfare check. Either family members or, in this case, the school had called because they hadn't seen this girl and were concerned about her. So what happens and how did these signs of abuse slip through the cracks of even police officers? Joining us right now is Bill Richardson. He's a retired Mesa Police detective. Mr. Richardson, thank you for your time today.
You're welcome.
Can you help me understand a little bit what happens when called a welfare check on a child? A police officer goes to a home, and we know only from the police report that officers witnessed what looked like a black eye on the child. Officers were aware that there had been previous instances of abuse. They were aware the child hadn't been to school in 4 days. What are you supposed to do?
You know, when you have a history like was involved with Rebekah Baptiste and the family and the home, and you have knowledge by an SRO, school resource officer, and you have the people at the school who are trained observers. They're not some wino on the corner yelling, screaming.
Mm-hmm.
The people there, that's what they do for a living. So when you look at the totality of the circumstances, and I know that Commander Martos from Phoenix PD says you can only look at the single incident, but according to my friends at the Phoenix PD, he's very wrong.
Mm.
But when you look at the totality of the circumstances, it's begging to be investigated by beyond a school resource officer. You know, now we're talking about a trained detective that knows how to investigate crimes against children, knows how to conduct an initial interview, or maybe they're trained in forensic interviews. They know what services are available, and they know how to obtain those services and to look at what they have on the face of what's there, and with the history, guide the investigation, and in this case, guide it aggressively.
Did the Phoenix PD drop the ball here?
Big time.
Big time, right?
Big time.
Okay, so should they have taken the little girl out of the house on the last trip over to the house? She had the black eye. You said, you know, if there are previous incidents and the cops have been out there, they know about it. So if this is the 5th time and you're out there, I mean, we've said it before, where there's smoke, there's fire. Why wasn't the Phoenix Police Department more aggressive here?
You know, that's a good question, but police departments historically strive to find 100 reasons why not instead of one reason why. Obviously, it's a sticky situation, but the law does give them the power to do that, and it's spelled out quite clearly in the DCS manual. So the question is, was the school resource officer in a position to make that decision? Probably not, because it doesn't sound like to me that they receive a great deal of training in how to gather evidence, how to interview children, how to make those determinations. But based on what he knew and based on what he'd been told, then I would think at that time that a call to his supervisor and his supervisor to a supervisor in child crimes to say, we got a hell of a mess on our hands. We need to act now because we can see the escalation of the problems.
We're talking to Bill Richardson, is a retired Mesa police detective who is certainly pointing some of the finger. Listen, we think DCS is a big problem in here, but again, we know Phoenix Police Department came in contact with this family between 4 or 5 times. It's still not 100% clear. We're going to get body cam video. Our friends at Channel 12 have requested the body cam video when they went to check on the welfare of Rebekah and her siblings.
Right.
But I guess you talk about the totality of it. Would a police officer know all of the issues that DCS has had, the number of times they've been investigated, the children were taken away from them at one point? Would they understand and have all that information when they're doing just a simple, I'll call it simple welfare check?
For the school resource officer to have the information available beyond the Phoenix Police Department record system, he's probably not going to know where there's factual documentation. He's going to know from what he's been told by the faculty and staff at the school. So that sort of should have been a red flag for him to go to his sergeant and say, we got a problem. And for the sergeant then in turn to contact his lateral or somebody in child crimes, family violence unit, and say, we have a problem and we need to be aggressive. Sometimes, you have to push. And as long as you operate within the law, then you can push all you want. And so, as far as DCS failing, DCS, my first case involving anybody from DCS was 50 years ago when I was a beat cop in the hood, and a kid ran away from a home because they were raping him. Oh. And they returned him to the home, and he ran away again, and I found him, and I raised hell with the juvenile probation officer, and they took it to the next level because then CPS was failing miserable. So DCS, CPS, their history of failure it's hot in Arizona. Okay, DCS screws up. Okay, that's just how it is.
Wow.
I'm kind of speechless after that last one. I think that if, there are other kids that were tortured and murdered, I think 3 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them ran away. I mean, when you talk about kids that run away, I mean, and, I don't know if Rebekah tried to run away, but it seems that those kids that run away, there's a reason why they're running away. Like, they're
exactly
not,
right.
Yeah, there's a reason. They're getting injured in the house. They're getting beaten or worse. I mean, burned. And so if kids, like for me, like put a spotlight on it. If a kid is running away over and over again, let's find out why that kid is running away over and over again. Maybe something's happening in that damn house.
You're exactly right. And so, but you've got to have, cops are only as good as their leadership. They're only as good as their supervision, and they're only as good as their training. And so, and one of the things that's important when you're a police officer on the street or you're a detective is that you know your job and you have the support of your leadership to take action. You can't have a rule for everything. Okay, as long as you operate within the law and as long as you follow policy and procedure and you're doing it in good faith, then do it.
Yeah.
There's resources available. The statute is clear that officers can take a child. The forms are available to fill out. Basically, you fill them out like you would a search warrant. You take them to the 24/7 judge at the county jail, and they sign the order, and then you work aggressively. I mean, if you get kickback from DCS, then you escalate it. I mean, it goes from the sergeant to the lieutenant to the commander to the assistant chief, who picks up the phone and calls the head of DCS and says, hey, get off your butt. We got a problem.
Right. Yeah, I think if I'm a cop and it's the first time I'm going to this house and the kid has a black eye, it doesn't mean I'm going to drag the kid out of there. If it's the 5th time that I've gotten a phone call and I'm the Phoenix PD and it's a 5th time that I'm over there and the kid has a black eye, take the kid out of the house.
Well, let's talk about the black eye. Okay. There's patterns to bruises, and when you talk to people that examine children, I mean, detectives can have experience, but when you take a child to somebody who knows how to examine a bruise, a physician or a nurse that's trained, and then they tell you that the bruise is inconsistent with what the child is telling you,
Right.
or the color of the bruise does not fit the timeline. So there's a pattern to bruises. So,
Interesting.
lots of times you'll hear stories about, well, they fell down.
Right.
Well, you look at the pattern of the bruise and how is it? Where is it at? Is it consistent with the story?
Yeah.
But then, after you look at this and the officer's making judgments, that I don't think he's trained to make.
Interesting.
He's drawing conclusions which can really bias an outcome. Cops are all supposed to be objective, and so are prosecutors, but you can taint an investigation. You're doing it, you think you're doing what's right, but that doesn't make it right.
Gotcha.
And so then the question is, okay, and are you prepared to do the interview with the child, especially if the child is a victim of abuse?
Right.
And so, it talked about how the officer went to the house. There was a delay. Well, why was there a delay?
Before they
all
brought the children out to him. Yeah.
These are all
and then
questions.
they bring him out. Okay, so where's the setting for the interview?
Right.
In front of the other kids and the parents?
Yeah.
What happened? Oh, I got hit with a ball. Oh, okay. So,
Right.
there's, again, you go back to 2018, when the Phoenix Police Department got involved, and you look at all the information that you got from the school and all the reports that they've made to DCS. If she told me the sun was shining, I'd want to corroborate it.
Gotcha.
Mr. Richardson, thank you so much for your time and for your insight into this. We sincerely appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's Bill Richardson, a retired Mesa Police detective, on this little girl falling through the cracks. And you certainly can't say there weren't red flags. You certainly can't say, gee, somebody should have done something along the way.
It's sickening.
It is really tough to talk about.
Thanks for watching Outspoken with Bruce and Gaydos. Tap to watch more from KTAR News and click the button in the middle to subscribe.